again to the official topic talk, and we are now outside the Dana prison. Now let's start our journey. Prison centre. Oh yeah. I've come for the self-guided tour.
Is it for 2 o'clock?
Yeah.
And the name, please?
Steve Clark and Jackie Clark.
Yeah, 1 and 2, and you're both signed in. So just grab a map from the wall over there. It will point out the restaurant and toilets, and that information board's around for you to read. So just go through the doorway to your left, and at the far exit, it takes you straight to the front courtyard, and that's where you'll be starting your journey.
Alright, brilliant. Cheers, thank you. Where? Down here? What? Is it down here? Out here to the courtyard? Is it down here? Ah, yeah. Prison reception. I think we came from in here, the reception.
Well, prison reception. That way then.
See, this is where the truck used to come in, I think. We used to come in here and drive round. Prison reception. Arrows pointing. Right, sorry about this, guys. We're now live at the Dana prison for our guided tour. Oh yeah, are we in the wrong place? I've just come through. I don't know if I'm supposed to be here or not.
You can come in here. It's no problem.
I mean, we haven't got our guided, you know, the leaflets and that.
Oh,
I'm not sure where I'll get them
you're
from.
looking for a reception.
I've gone to the wrong place.
No worries. Ah, yes. Well, this is prison reception, which is called such because it's where the prisoners would have been.
Well, I was here in the 80s, in the late 80s. I've done 3 stretches in this place.
Awesome.
So inside, I know it like the back of my hand.
The visitor's guide is through this way.
Because we're on the the self-guided one.
Yeah.
Back in here.
So, did you get your the maps from in here?
No, that's what I needed. That's what I need to get in the maps. Back in here. Oh.
So, maps
Oh,
off from the wall here. No problem. Alright.
Well, where do we go? Left here.
So yeah, if you go right through there, you'll find C wing.
That's the nonces wing, weren't it? It used to be the old nonces wing and the women.
Yeah.
So I was on A wing.
Yeah, you'll get to A wing if you go through the courtyard.
A321. Right, I was in that cell on 3 separate occasions. From 86 I was in, 87 I was back in, and 88 I was back in, and each time I was in A321.
That's some strange luck.
So
enjoy your stay.
Cheers. And there we have the old prison shirts, the old blue and white stripes. Not too sure what year these ones were from, but that was your traditional prison shirt. And because of this being a Victorian prison, this looks like your old style Screws uniform. Deportation notices and pardon letters. These look like very, very old pardon letters. Now, confiscated handmade weapons and drugs paraphernalia. Look at some of them weapons confiscated from prisoners that have been doing their sentences at the Dana. And here we have now some prisoner paintings. Prisoner paintings, Governor Jerry Hendry, and characters from TV Porridge. And here we have one of the old t-shirts, and you can see what I was saying about Dean about them being the baggy ones. You have to fight over the coloured ones, so they used to do coloured ones that were better suited. And here you have the prison issue t-shirts. Notice how baggy they were. Back in the late 80s, prisoners used to fight over getting the better coloured t-shirts because obviously they had a better fit. This desk is old. Made by an inmate as a copy of his cell. The view is the same as if looking into the cell. Which, there you go, it's made out of wood, and that's basically what your cell door used to look like. If I can get in there. There you go, people. You can see the bed there, the light. There's your little desk and your little window. That's ace. High voltage distribution keys duplicate set. So that reincarnates the lock that used to be on the cell doors. Once again, people, here's a model that prisoner had made. There we go, better clear fit picture. Donald Nelson, the Black Panther. "34 years he served from 1976 to 2011. And there's the famous Ricky Tomlinson. You all must remember him. Robert Welsh, another serving prisoner at HMP Dana, otherwise known as Shrewsbury prison. And there you have the famous George Riley, also served a prison term. And again, there's another prisoner's painting. Prisoner's painting again. Let's stand back and number 29, you've got Victorian keys. There you have the medical chamber pot and Georgian keys and Victoria gaslight, dating back to the Georgian years.
thing. I used to do that.
Look at them truncheons. Prison officers used to use them to bat the prisoners. There you got a very old Bible. Look at some of these locks that were off the old cell doors. There's your prison officers' pips. And there we have the riot police and the riot screws. When the prisoners used to kick off, these are the weapons that they used to storm the wings to restore order. And these are some of your famous weapons. I can tell you straight away, number 11 used to be my favourite. Except instead of having a rock in the sock, mine would be a PP9 battery in the sock. First thing I used to buy a PP9 battery and a sock, and that was a legal weapon. Also, you can see a pen, and the pen's been turned into a shank. You see the blade on the end of the pen. I mean, these are some of the weapons that the prisoners used to make. And all it took was one of them, razor blade. Sellotape the two razor blades side by side. Heat or melt the tip of the big pen. Put the razor blades into it, and the reason why they put two side by side is because when they slash somebody, they can't stitch it back up. And there's your famous listener badge. The listeners were the people that, if you felt suicidal or if you was getting bullied, you could turn to the listeners, and they were there to help the prisoners. And here you have your standard prison letter, which you would write away to your family. It's beautiful butterflies. And there you've got the famous cross. God is control. And there's one of your old gypsy caravans, and if you notice, it's made out of matchsticks. Again, you see how it's made out of matchsticks. You know, that was a famous hobby for prisoners, a good way to spend their time. And also, if you notice, that picture frame, it's made out of matchsticks. Again, prisoners used to make frames and lighters out of matchsticks just to pass their sentence in their time, made it go a bit quicker. And there's your standard issue dinner tray, knife and fork. That's what you used to eat your dinner off. And there you have your standard issue H&P prison phone cards. And back in the day when it was allowed, you'd have your amber leaf 3-in-1 and your little baccy tin. See, a lot of people used to matchstick their baccy tin as well, just like the picture frame. And there you have some of your wash facilities, which used to be, when you first enter, that's the sort of washing kit that they used to give you. Standard little towel, grotty little toothbrush, and some cheapo bloody toothpaste. But that was your basic kit pack, what you'll be given. And one of the most famous papers that you could get pushed underneath your door once a week is the Inside Times. And there's your general alarm for the HMP prison. And again, there's your standard issue prison shirt. Worn many of them in my time. Now these seem to be your clothing that you can actually buy now as mementos to say and remember your time visiting HMP Shrewsbury. Oh, I like them. I like them orange tops. 15 quid. Right, we'll be going down here. Now, back in my day, when I was doing my 2 sentences in the late 80s, them mail bags, that's what we used to sew. That was my job. And we used to get paid about £18 to stitch them bags. There you go. There's your evidence bag if you had ever got caught with any stuff that you weren't supposed to have. Again, there's your raw mail sacks that the prisoners used to stitch to earn their money. Let's see what's down here. No entry, staff only. Right, where do we go now? C wing. C wing is where the sex cases used to be held, which now I'm about to enter. I have never been on this wing. I was always on A wing. But back in the day of the Georgian times, this is where the female prisoners used to be locked up. And over the years it changed because C wing then, coming back into the 60s, used to house the sex offenders here in the early to late 70s onwards. Used to be for the female prisoners, but later on in life this is where the nonces used to go. This is where they used to be kept. Now this here would be the office where the officers would sit when they're doing their paper writing and their duties. They've got their little kitchen in there. And this is where the officers used to sit and make their tea. You know, like I said, this used to be the female prisoner, and then later on it used to be housing the sex offenders. Roughly from about the 70s onwards is where the vulnerable prisoners used to go. This wing used to be called Ward 43. I can think of a couple of people that should be on this wing. Now let's have a quick look in one of the strip cells. Come in. I take it this used to be one of the strip cells. As you notice, all the locks have been taken out so we don't accidentally shut ourselves in. But this is your standard little cell. You've got your little sink, and there's your little shit house. Obviously that's where you'd have your shits and your poos. Now in these grills, these are the grills that we use to hide all our illegal tobacco and illegal drugs. And if you have a look at these windows, didn't used to be like this, but then I say I've never been on this wing. I used to be on A wing. There we go. This is your standard strip cell, because you've got your little wooden bunk bed. Probably would have put people in here either for their first night before they get given a proper cell, or it will be from the naughty boys. Now, as you notice, there's your little cupboard. Years ago, that didn't you know, that's made of marble, people. Very shocking. Because back in my day, I mean, that used to be made of wood. But again, this is going back to the Georgian times, which was before my times of going in jail. Now you've got your famous lights and you've got your bell. So if you fancy topping yourself, you'd cut your wrist and then push the bell. Now, there's your standard light switch. Now, this is what you call a strip cell. Look at this, people. There's not one bed. And there's your famous grills. See, years ago, the grills didn't used to be as bad as that. But because people used to throw lines out of the window, so they can get stuff from cell to cell, if you notice now they put extra grills on, so they're little squares, so you've got no chance of chucking the line out the window. This looks like a total strip cell. Because you ain't got no bed. This is where the naughty people go. Again, people, this is just your standard cell. It's definitely a lot different to your normal A wing, because on A wing you've got cells coming down the left and coming down the right. But on here you've just got one row of cells, and then you've got another layer upstairs. But I say, like again, I've never been on this wing because this wing is for the nonces. Just look at the mould. You can tell this is from the Georgian time because look at the ceiling. You know, this is definitely showing its age. You know, and this cell here is from the Georgian times. The mould is just... Imagine having to live in this cell for 18 months, I mean, but this, like I say, in the Georgian times, this is where the females, prisoners used to be housed. And then coming back into the late 70s, the C wing, where we are now, was then housed for all sex cases, Ward 43s, for your protection prisoners. But like I say, back in the day before the 70s, this used to be a female part of the prison. But just look at the state that they used to live in. And to think I've been on A wing three times, and I thought, well, I ain't coming back no more. We might even find Decker lurking around somewhere here, because this is the old sex case wings. Decker! Decker! Where are you? Where are you, Dickie? I've got a cell for you. And there we go, we've just got another standard female cell there, which used to house the sex offenders from the late 70s going onwards. So considering it used to be for sex offenders, this definitely looks like from the slop out era, because there's no toilet, you know, there's no bed. I mean, look at the state of even, definitely a Georgian. But then, like I said, the last prisoners to ever stay on this actual wing, the last prisoners, you know, to ever be in these cells were either sex offenders or people that was vulnerable, i.e. Ward 43. Here you've got your standard showers. I mean, once again, I mean, from these late times, this is where they used to put the sex offenders before they closed the prison. And as I can just show you, look, there's your standard shower. Standard showers. This is where some attacks used to happen. You know, when people had beefs, this room here, the shower block, used to be the best place to get your victims. People that have upset you, this is the best place to smash them up, because the screws would never come round here. And once you put these showers on, it blocks out all the noise. And I mean, this is exactly how the shower block is on A wing. You know, you got your two little doors, and you got your shower. You know, and for the disabled, you know, you got your chair to sit there and have your shower if you're a disabled prisoner. So if you can imagine, people, you've got a problem with somebody, this was one of the best places of the prison, you know, to fight and get back at your person. Warning, the use of talcum powder in these showers is prohibited. Anyone found using talcum powder will receive an IEP. An IEP, people, is basically where you get put in front of the governor and go on governor's report. Let's have a look at the plan. Collecting your visitor's guide. So this is basically where, just before the prison shut down, this is where they'd house the sex offenders, Ward 43s, your protection cases. But going back to the Georgian times, this is where they'd house, in the Georgian times, the women prisoners. Originally it was the women's prisoner wing. And I take it that's where they would have got the governor's office. And here we have what we call a two-up cell. You know, as you can see, you know, you've got bunk beds. You've got bunk beds in here instead of a single bell. So this is where your two female prisoners would stay in the Georgian times. But more recently, before the prison shut in 2013, for 5 years, this is where they'd house all the sex offenders. Decker, Dicky, can I see you? This is C Wing. Ward 43 cases come here.
Yeah, the most wanted wing. The women's wing, actually.
And apparently this wing here is supposed to be so haunted, but that's for another occasion. We'll be coming back to do the ghost hunt. Oh. Don't want to get anybody else on front. Now, here's another standard cell, which you have your two people. As opposed to having bunk beds, you would have two single beds. And as you can see, there's not much room left there. You know, there's your standard cell. Except you've got two split beds. Again, just look at the mould. You know, it takes you back to the Georgian times. And this is how the female prisoners used to stay until the late 70s. And then, like I say, after the late 70s, this used to be housing the sex offenders. And there you got an empty. It just goes to show you haven't got much space in your cells, and just look at the state that these female prisoners would have had to live in. You know, it's all right saying like back from the late 70s, the sex offenders and beasts can stay in these cells. Oh, and look at this, my wife has shut me in. I'm going to put, and she's closed the flap on me. And in that case, you would push that bell, and the light outside there,
Yeah, do not touch it.
that light would flash. And that tells you that the prisoner's about to slash up. Well,
There's no entry on that.
no entry, but let's go upstairs now and see the top end of the jail.
Yeah, you know, there's the second one. No, 203 is
And somebody says let off a stinking fart. Now we're going up to the twos, which is the second level people. No smoking. And again you can see the arrows. Again, if you look at the locks on the door, quite Georgian again. This is up till the 70s. These used to house the female prisoners. But from the late 70s going through to the 80s, it used to house the sex offenders here, which is known as C Wing at HMP the Dana, Shrewsbury. Yeah, but it just goes to show you how many cells. Well, cells 203. Now what this notice says, cell 203 is reported to be the most haunted cell in the entire prison. Considered the haunting wing, there have been many reports of unexplained things in this wing from officers, prisoners and the public today. Many officers would refuse to work on this wing alone at night and reported they saw a grey lady come from this cell and walk towards the execution room at the bottom of the corridor. This sighting has been reported many times, and to this date we do not know who she is or why she is here. Could she be a prisoner? Could she be an officer? There has been a similar report of a grey lady walking down the staircase to the governor's wine cellar, which you can see on the tunnel tour. Now we will have a tunnel tour, but today it's just about touring this famous Georgian prison. Could this be the same lady? To this date, many paranormal companies pick up large amounts of activity in this cell, and some people even refuse to go inside. Can you go in? Well, let's see if this famous grey lady wants to come and speak to Clarky. But we are coming back to do a paranormal night. Grey lady, if you want to speak to the fragster, shut that door and slam it or make a bang. Let me know that you're around, or if you're sleeping, just show me anything if you're around. Many people say they won't come into this cell. So if you're listening to me, grey lady, do something to make me known that you're around. Good hiding spots, this. Come on, grey lady. I'll come back and see you another day. Listener lives here.
A listener.
A listener is a person that used to help people. If they felt suicidal, they'd go to the listener and they would actually calm them down. Again, we've got another cell just the same. But as yet, I've not come across or seen the grey lady. And now we've got another level for the showers. Another good place to get your enemies back. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got 4 showers. And you can shut the door, see, so you can have your little bit of privacy when you come out of the shower, just in case a batty boy's fucking hiding behind the door and he wants to bum you. Dickie, I'm looking for you, Dickie. Are you on C3203? There's a nice cell for you, Dickie. The cell awaits you. Hey? C2. Look at the state of these walls, people. And back in the Georgian times, that's, see, you're on C wing and level 2. This is where the female prisoners used to be, but then from the late 70s onwards, it'll be for the sex cases and Ward 43s. Take it, there's a little restroom office. But just bear that in mind, people, from the late 70s onwards, that's where the paedophiles used to be, on here, C wing. Back in the Georgian times, that used to be the female prison. Now we're about to enter the execution bedroom. Back in the Georgian times, this is where the executioner's bedroom used to be. The night before he used to get executed, the executioners would arrive at this prison the day before the execution was due to take place. On arrival, they would use the prisoner's height, weight and build to calculate the length of the drop, prepared the rope and tested the equipment using a weighted sack. The sack would be left to hang on the rope.
You know, if I was hungry, I'd like, swing me.
So that way they can get a gist of the height of the rope or the length of the rope needed to hang the prisoner. There's been many famous names that have been executed through this jail, which I'm about to show you now.
No, he stays here.
But this used to be, the prisoners used to be transported from other jails to come here to face their execution. Not a very nice place, people. And this is the room that they would be in the night before. The night before their execution, this is what their bedroom would look like, dating back to the Georgian times. There you'd have the cross and the rope on the floor. And that's basically how they would arrive here the night before they get executed because of the crime that they have committed. There were times when the executioner may have stayed in the hotel if the prison was within a town, but they would usually stay within the jail so that there would be no delay to proceeds. On the day of the execution, the executioner and his assistant would enter the condemned person's cell at 8 AM. The assistant would secure the prisoner's arms behind their back using a leather strap, and they would be walking to the marked spot on the trapdoor. To white hood would be placed over the prisoner's head and a noose around their neck. The metal eye, through which the rope was looped, was placed under the left jaw from when the prisoner dropped, forced the head back and broke the spine. The executioner pushed a large lever, releasing the trapdoor. This would take a maximum of 12 seconds. Following the execution, executioners were also responsible for cutting the prisoner down, cleaning the body and covering them in the shroud, ready for the autopsy. There have been many executions and the assistant executioner over the years. I do believe the last person to have been hanged in this jail was way back in 1966, but this is how they would arrive the night before their execution. Probably because they got done for a hideous crime, which would have given them a life sentence on death row. Now, I'm not too sure what this room is, people, but I'm just going to have a little look around before I go and see the execution room. I'll come back to this in a minute. Now, let's go to the execution room. So there we go, people. There's the executioner's bedroom the night before he gets executed. And now we're going into the execution room. This is just showing you a map of the levels. Now we're going to enter into the execution room. 5 executions in April 1822. 5 prisoners were hanged in one day for burglary alone. Now, just think, people, how lucky you are. Just think how lucky you criminals really are. Back in 1822, if you committed a burglary, you would have been found yourself getting hung. So just think, all you people that commit burglaries out there. You know, if this was in 1822, you would have been hung for it. Just a food for thought there, people. This is the execution room. The execution facts. The executions that took place here in the 1950s were conducted by Albert Pierrepoint, Britain's most famous hangman. The last hanging to take place in Shrewsbury prison was carried out on the 9th of February 1961. It was conducted by Harry Allen, the prison, as was customary. Executions always took place at 8 AM. All executed prisoners were buried in unmarked graves inside the prison. Now just give a little bit of thought for all you lucky burglars that commit crimes like burglary. If this was back in the 1822s, you would have been hung. You wouldn't be given a prison sentence or probation. Case report, a Home Office report of George Riley's case. George Riley was the last person to be executed in February the 9th, 1961. Trainee butcher George Riley, 21, murdered 62-year-old Adeline May Smith on the 8th of October 1960. After a night out drinking with his friends, returning home at 1:30 AM, he broke into her house opposite his own at Westland Road in Shrewsbury with the intentions of robbing her. She disturbed him during the robbery and was hit a blow which killed her. He was executed by hanging at Shrewsbury prison on the 9th of February 1961. The executioner was Harry Allen. Now, he was the last prisoner to be executed in this jail, H&P Shrewsbury. Last executions. The public outside the prison on the day of the country's last execution in 1961. There's a Desmond Hooper, executed 26th of 1954. Desmond Donald Hooper was executed for the murder of a 12-year-old Betty Smith. Dorothy Smith was a widow living with her 12-year-old daughter in an ex-army hut. Now there you've got a burglar. A burglar was sent to hang in 1822. You know, and look at the punishments they get now. Now this here, he killed a 12-year-old girl. Now that's disgusting. That's the right sentence, and that was in 1954. There you got Donald Smith. He was executed by hanging at Shrewsbury prison on the 23rd of October 1952. Henry Huxley, Another famous prisoner that was found hanged in 1952 due to his hideous crimes. You know, so some of you criminals out there should count yourself lucky. You know, commit a burglary in 1822, you would have been hung. Now you've got Frank Griffin. 1950, age 40, entered the premises of the Queen's Head in Ketley, Shropshire, intending on robbery. During the break-in, he attacked and killed the landlady Jane Edge. They used to give out some harsh sentences then, back in the day. Some of you guys out there, you're lucky. There we got William Griffiths. You know, the crimes they give out nowadays, it's just not enough to fit the crimes. Try living back in 1822 and getting executed, losing your life all for the sake of a burglary. Think, people, before you commit a crime. And there we have the rope. This is where the executions used to take place. Let me try and get a better look at that rope. Imagine your neck going into that just because you was a criminal. Makes you think twice, won't it, people? And this is where the body, once they've been executed, this is where the body would end up. This is where the condemned man's cell would be just before he gets that rope put round his neck. Where are we going now? Oh. What's in here? Can we be allowed in here? Oh, looks like a battle door room. Right, 5 execution. Now where do we go? Have we been in here? We came in here. Right, that was, again, the execution. The bed, this is where they used to stay the night before the execution. Now, I did see some stairs up here. Don't know where we're going, but we're just having a wander around the whole place. Ooh, I can find some rooms. No entry, just staff only. Ooh. Eh? And here we have the Notorious Killers Tour. Discovery, some of Britain's most notorious killers. Now this is fascinating, this room. Guess who made it on the shit list today? We have one, Robert Palmer. We have Mary Ann Cotton. And we have the famous Jack the Ripper! He was hung here too. Jack the fucking Ripper. Notorious killer. Ah, Media Doya. That's an old one. The other one, John Haig. Another famous killer. And over here we have Ruth Ellis.
You can just look at the, just watch this video.
And there we have the famous Mary Bell. The Tyneside Strangler. Evil bitch.
Okay, I didn't blurt that bit out.
And there we got Harold Shipman. Beast. Do you all remember Harold Shipman? His murder method of killing people was injecting lethal doses of painkillers into people in Manchester. And there we have the famous Peter Sutcliffe, the Yorkshire Ripper. Mostly used to kill the female prostitutes. And there we have Fred and Rose West. Now, where are we going? The prisoner gym. This is where the people used to exercise. And this is your traditional visits room. If you was good enough to get visits, you know where your loved ones used to come and visit you. This is a traditional visiting room for families to come and visit prisoners. This is how you used to have your visits, when your family and loved ones used to come into this room. And this is your traditional looking, there we go, areas for the kids to play. No entry. But that's all your visiting room used to be. Oh, this must be the church. This is where you take a leak, in the church.
You know I'm recording.
Are you recording?
Yes, I'm recording on and off.
There's your prison chapel, people. This is where your church services would take place for prisoners, depending on what faith you was. Am I allowed in here? No, it's locked. Oh, lights have gone off, something's going on.
It's sensitive, actually. It's automatic.
Oh, is that you, grey lady? Have you followed me?
Yeah, do not follow us around. You can't get in here.
This is where you'll collect your medication, people.
This is the doctor's quarters.
I can't get in here, but this is as close as I can get to show you. This is where the prisoners would collect their medication.
I wonder who that is. So somebody's got to say it this time.
And this is where the nurse would be. So if you was on medication, like if you had to get diabetes stuff, or your loopy juice, or your bloody smack rat juice.
There you go. Now you can,
This is where you'd come to collect your medications. You know, the nurse or doctor would be sat there, the prisoner would be there, the nurse and doctor would be there, and this is where you would collect your medications.
I think
Your Fraggle juice, or your heroin methadone, or your diabetes stuff. And this is the window where you would actually collect your stuff from.
I think we're going to be eating.
There's bars everywhere. Slam! I recognise that slamming sound. Now we've come into, this is A wing now. Now this is where your normal segregation of people would be. This is A wing. I'm going to go up to A321 and I'm going to show you where my cell used to be when I was here. This is where you'll come for your medical before you go onto the wing. And you have your health checked in here first. Prisoner health. Now this is A wing. This is where your normal prisoners would be. The other wing that I've just shown you before is C wing. That was for female prisoners, and then later on in life it was be where the Ward 43 cases and the sex cases would be. Now we're on to now we're entering into, this is A wing. This is where your normal prisoners would be housed. In here, down here, babe. I'm going to show you my old cell, A321.
Yeah, in a bit.
This is A343. Right. This is A1. This level here, A1. This is when you first come into the jail. After you've been through reception and you've got your kit pack, you come through that gate there. And this is the level where you're housed first. You normally stay in one of these cells on the ones for anything up to 3 days before you then get moved on to A2, which is the next level up there. And this is exactly how I remember it when I was last here in the late 80s. 86, 87, 88 is the sentences that I've done on this wing. Now, when you're first brought in, you're brought into these single cells on the ones, they call it. Again, this is your standard cell, and this is the wing for your normal prisoners. We've covered Ward 43. Now, you'll be allocated one of these cells. Here you've got a twin man set up. Again, there's not much really to view. But you've got to bear in mind this is set up to make it look like it's the old Georgian times. And there you have your suicide nets. That was just in case any prisoners wanted to decide to commit suicide by jumping over the barrier. They'd be saved by the suicide net. Actually, I think this is level 2. Mark Cobden's cell. You may recognise this cell from the popular BBC drama Time, starring Sean Bean and Stephen Graham. This show follows two men on different sides of the bars as they discover the harsh reality of prison life. This cell belonged to Sean Bean's character Mark Corbin. Everything you see in this cell today was used to create the dramatic set that Sean Bean used to bring his character to life. Let's have a look in the cell. Now there's your traditional cell. You got your cupboard with all your bare necessities in, you got your bed. And that's exactly how a standard cell would look like. You know, you got your radio, you got your toiletries, you got your pictures up on the wall. That's exactly how I used to remember myself being in the 80s. Now I've got a funny feeling that 1, 2, 3. We're on A2. This is level 2. And down here you've got the ones which is I'm wrong, people. This is where you'd be moved to from after you've been on to reception. Someone's had a good pop at that one. Now I've got no chance of finding Dickie Hickey on this wing. Dickie Hickey would not be on this wing. Now this office here is where the officers would stay. Now you can see the staircase here. This staircase was for going up, and if you look further down the far end, there's another set of stairs which is for going down. There is always, you go up one side and down the other.
There's the showers. This
is the famous shower block. Now people, I've been in here in the late 80s, and this is where I settled the score one day. As the person was coming out, I was waiting in this area here. And this is where you settle your... This is the office where the officers would be stationed. This is where you'd go to get your VOs and the likes. This is a standard wing. This is A wing. This is where the normal prisoners used to be housed. Now this was a single cell bang up, and this is exactly how I remember it in the late 80s. This used to be my home. This exact prison, this exact wing, this exact jail. I'm going to show you the very last cell that I slept in the late 80s on 3 occasions on 3 separate sentences. A321. Again, there's your suicide nets, people. This is where some people used to jump over the balcony. But this is your daily landing, this one. You come up onto this landing after you've been on the induction level of A1, which is downstairs, which we'll be going to very shortly. As you can see, this is your standard cell. There you go, there's your toilet. You'd have normally a cupboard in this area here. And there's your bed. This is a single cell bang up, and there you have your toilet. Right, babe. I'm going up to A321. Now this is a typical cell of how the prisoners would cover the windows so that the light from outside would not shine in, which will make their rooms darker. But at the same time, if you had done that back in the 80s, you would have been put on report. Right, I'm now going to find the last cell that I actually stayed in, which should have my name still scribbled on the wall, and let's go and find out.
Is that enough? Alright, well,
here we go, A321.
Okay, any other numbers figured out for it?
A321 is locked. This was the very last cell that I stayed in the late 80s.
Alright, I'll tell you the second number.
Oh.
The second number.
A321. Looks like it's part of the cell escape. But that there was the very last one I stayed in the 80s, and since then And since then, I've never come back to view that room.
Yeah, the cell escape room will end probably around, apologies, probably around 3:45 or so. So
right.
If you wanted to have a reminisce, they'll probably be the time to come back.
Oh yeah, excellent.
Yeah,
Well, I'm going to pop back up, people. I'm just going to take another take a walk down A3 landing, because I will pop back and I will show you the very, very last cell that I was stationed in and lived in.
Talking about the past.
11,
Alright. So,
Now let's. Now these cells here look like it's part of the cell escape. There's your standard one. But yes, I will go back, people. At the moment, it's just being used for the prison escape. And once it's free, I will give you a tour and a look from inside, just to reminisce from my past A321. Well, as you can see there's the suicide nets. Hmm?
That was like
Warning, A3 CCTV cameras in operation. Now that's giving me a look from the outside for when I come and do the prison break. But I'm just going to doss around on A3 level, just so I can go back and have a good look at the cell that I was last in the late 80s. Subscribe, like, official topic talk. Subscribe, like, and hit the bell.
Channel 3 now.
Again, I remember coming here, queuing up here to get my toothpaste and my toothbrushes. This brings back some memories. There were some good officers that used to sit in this office here. If you can look, you can see the handcuffs. Don't know who that is.
I think we are now.
Looks like a
From
dickhead.
TV show.
Who?
TV show.
TV show. Well, this ain't no show. This ain't no joke, people. This is live and direct from HMP Shrewsbury, the Dana. Just to think I was actually on this landing, right? In 1986 to 87, I was actually physically on this landing. This is where I used to be housed from 86 to 87, and then again from 87 to 88. And this is the exact landing where I used to be housed when I was a little tow rag. 3 separate occasions I ended up on the same cell. What time did that guy say I can go back? Hmm? What time did he say? Have a look inside, you see the toilets. What time did he say? 1:45? Babe.
Probably 20 past.
No, the wing that we was on before was a female. Now this is your standard bed, people. Babe, oh this, I'm going to have a lay down on that bed.
Huh?
I'll never lay down on that bed and let me film it.
Yeah, I'll turn mine.
And I'll do the same at A321 because that used to be my home. And to think, in 1989 I said I'm never coming back. Man, this used to be the life. Do you know what? I never used to like sitting on the top bunk. I always had the bottom bunk. Because if anybody rushed in through the door, I'd be the first one on my feet. I smashed the first one in the face that came through that door. This is bringing back some memories, people. Memories of the days that I used to be a fucking toe rag and an idiot. Hmm? Is that the tour? I don't know, I've still got to do mine. I just have to keep it quiet. A343. But I will be heading back down to the other end once they finish their prison escape. Because I want to see the very last cell that I had ever stayed in back in the late 80s. Why? I want to go back to this.
We'll go back to this house in a minute. Yeah, we'll do the courtyard.
Should we go back? Do you want to go up a level or do you want to go down?
We'll go down.
Go up to the floors and come back. This ain't to the courtyard. Look, this is where we used to go for our laundry. This is where we used to collect or see the medical officer. Now we're going to go back down onto EA1 before I go back up to the freeze to see my last cell that I stayed in. So we've come back to the start now. So we have, because look, there's a direction for A-wing where we've just come from.
Yeah, is that where it's at?
Yeah, this is where we should have come from. Now these stairs here, oh, we've done it back to front, that's why. This takes us back to C-wing, which we want to stay on A-wing. Because you didn't come down here. And this takes us back to A-wing. Now this is where the officers used to sit and talk, and there you can see some of their pips. Now here's a look at your modern cells. This is A-wing on A1. And this is how your modern day cell would be. Hmm? Oh no, I'm coming back. This is what a cell would look like in the 60s. You know, I know we haven't even been in here yet. See, these cells here, 2013 cell. And here's your modern day of, if you was in jail today, this is what your cell could look like. Well, where did you go? Down here. And this is where the comms of the prison would be. And of course, because I've been a prisoner, I would never have got to see these.
Yeah. That's it, you're on camera right now.
Look, I'm on camera! But this is where the prison would be secured from, where everybody can see everything going on the wing. Where have you gone? Babe. Babe. This is where your adjudicating officer's office would be. If you was ever to be in trouble, this is where I think you would find yourself. You seen the other room down there? The adjudicating officer's room. Right, where are we? We're back on A wing now. Eh? You coming to A wing? This is a dead end. Actually, what's down here? Looks like where the toilets are. Prison service roll of honour. This is the adjudicating officer's room. God, I'm enjoying this prison visit. Looking at stuff that... Whereas before I was a prisoner in this prison, these are the areas I certainly wouldn't have had access to. Did you do the security room? Well, people, that's been an hour and 20 minutes like it's taken me so far to get around this prison, but you know, I really want to get to A321 cell just to reminisce. It's 3:10 now. I think they said they finished about 3:15. But yeah, this has been very interesting. I mean, these are areas I would never have been able to visit when I was a tearaway in my old days, back in the late 80s, when I got incarcerated for being a naughty boy. And now I'm now going to attempt to get to A321. Oh. And this is the mess that would be made if the right officers would ever come and enter your cell. This is how your cell would have ended up.
You done the project yourself?
No, where is it? And this is where you'd be if you was a fruit and nutcase.
Yeah, just put your glass right against it and you'll see it.
Yeah. There we go, there's your padded cell, people.
Victorian cell.
Fucking hell, they used to have hammocks back in the Victorian times. That's how your cell would be. Hammocks, people. No, not an A-wing. That's male Victorian cell. Oh, and here we got a female Victorian. Notice how the females get beds, people. You know, and the men in the Victorian times would have to have hammocks.
Yeah, because they have to clean a bucket.
Ah, they've got a toilet, but did they have them in Victorian days? I'm sure it used to be slop out, and it looks like they're the sort of uniforms that they would be made to wear. C-wing via yard. No, what's down here, babe? Museum's down here. Oh, intervention suite. This is basically where the listeners would be housed, and these people had exceptional things that they would have their cell doors open. Because they've got a duty of care to the inmates if they wanted to commit suicide or if they were getting bullied. Their first port of call would be the listener, and this is how the listener's cell would be. You know, if you notice the size of the cell is a lot bigger. And also look at the stuff he's got in his cell compared to the other cells. It certainly shows the luxury that the listeners would have been given, and that was because the museum's back there. But I want to go up. Here we go, the famous shower block on the ones. I've had many scraps in this actual shower block. I've had 2 fights back in the late 80s because you've also got a football table, you know, which would have been standard on the late 80s. And this is your kitchen. This is where the servery would start, you know, and then you'd walk along the line, and where this board is put across, that is where you'd actually collect your food from. But this, people, is where you'd come in through this door, you'd come in through that door there, you'd come to your first part of the servery, you'd get your chips, you'd get your cake, you'd get your peas, you'd get your carrots, you'd get your fish, and then you'd enter out after collecting your food through this door here. And this is exactly how I remember it, people. You'd come in through that door. The servery would be along here, and you'll come out of this door, and this is where you'd sit and eat your. This is where you'd sit and eat your food. Now, when you're first brought in here, you're out on A1, which is the ones, and as you can see, these are the cells that would be allocated to when you first come into the jail. These are one of the cells that you would have. They would then move you up onto level 2. As you can see, these are the first night cells. Again, that brings back some memories. But then you'd have the one ladder for going up and one ladder for coming down. Oh man, look. Fucking hell. Look at that sink, people, in the guy's cell. This is the block, people. This is where you'd end up. That's the block, that is. That's where you go when you kick off and you cause a lot of problems. T-boy cell. Now, the T-boy and the cleaner, they were the only two that would have luxuries. Because a part of the job that they do, they used to get given privileges. The cell would have been the same as any other cell in the Shrewsbury prison in 2030. However, it was the name the T-boy cell. This is because the prisoner who was housed in this cell would have been a trusted prisoner who was responsible for making the officers' tea. So he would have been given some... What's this one? That's the riot cell. Look at the state of that.
I know.
That's when you're a complete arsehole and the riot squad's got to come and get you. Right, I want to go up to the 3s again. Eh? Ain't they finished yet? I think they said 1:45. Quarter 4, people. I'm gonna make my way again up to A321 because I wanna look back on that cell because that's the very last one I was in the late 80s. So we're going to have a look at the museum.
We've already been in the museum.
Have we? We haven't been down here. We're going to go back that way in a minute. Shit house! Shit house. Restaurant and museum.
That'll be pretty freaky if we actually saw that weird ghost in the cell called the Grey Lady.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, and this is your, this is the restaurant where you can get your coffee and your cakes. But we're not ready for cakes and coffee yet, are we? That's out into the courtyard. The execution room. Ah, the exercise yard. We haven't been out here yet. Yeah, because where you'd be. Right, this is the yard we used to come through. This building here, this grey building here, once a week we used to collect all our canteen and cigarettes and what have you from there. Babe, in that building there is where you used to collect your weekly canteen.
That's where they put you in.
Yep.
Off with his head.
Yep. Off with your bloody head.
Off with his head.
Yeah, and you got a smaller one.
But this is the odd people. This is used to be. This used to be the exercise yard because you'd come out that door. This building here, the grey building, is where we used to collect your weekly canteen. And I do believe this door here, that leads you back into Sea Wing. Right over the other side is where the exercise yard is. And that's also where you used to go for your work. Huh? Yeah. Right, this is the other side of the yard, I think. Let's go and have a look. Ooh, this is where people come for a sneaky fag. Fag break, people! You know, don't have a set, babe. You can have a smoke here, that's what they got the swing round there for.
I'd have to sit down more, like.
On the train tracks.
Yeah, don't blame me. I've done working my bit. Fuck it, I've done working my bit. I'm getting fucking tired now.
What time is it? 3:20?
Yes. There you go. Train tracks. I can pause it if you want. Carry on. Do you want to pause it for now?
No.
What?
Keep it going. Get hiking around here.
Yeah, okay, yeah. There you go, fucking holding it again in a minute.
Yeah, as soon as I roll this.
Yeah. Like we mean the whole of anyway, yeah.
Hmm?
That's because it, you know, people just, yeah, look, done. Just show it and then they can pause it to read it. That's what I've just done with mine as well.
Just having a bag break, people. So, what do you reckon so far, people? Hope you've enjoyed the tour around the Shrewsbury prison. Now we are going to try and make our way to the exercise yard, and then I can show you where we used to go for our work, to do our work, and then hopefully in the next half an hour I can actually go to A321, which was a cell that I was in on 3 separate imprisonments in this jail in the late 80s. I found this quite interesting because there's certain parts of this prison I've never seen or been able to in the past to get to see, because obviously of being incarcerated here. And one day I shall go into the reasons why I was incarcerated here. But today, so far, we started off on C Wing, which in the Georgian times up until 1971 used to be a female part of the prison. From 1971 to 2013, C Wing held the sex offenders, the vulnerable prisoners, and award 43 cases. Not going to mention no names, but maybe 1 or 2 people should be locked up in the C Wing in this jail. And the last wing that we visited, A Wing, that was where I was housed on 3 separate occasions. We shall continue. And over here we have the railways from back in the Georgian days. This is where the food and everything would be brought in. Now let's continue. Right, which way are we going? That's the canteen if we want something to eat. That's your shit houses. Now we're heading back onto A Wing, A1, where the prisoners will first be brought in, which we've covered them cells before they allocate you up onto A2. We've covered the T-boy cell, who had the privileges of mandatory drug testing. Now, from time to time, they would just randomly get prisoners in here, and they would drug test them. And this is the room that the drug testing would be done in. The officer would escort the prisoner. That's where they would do their testing. And this is a strip cell. They would first come into here, into this cell, where they'd be strip searched to make sure they've got nothing on them. They would then give their sample. Look, running tap, let's turn it off. There we go. Grey lady, where are you? But I do promise you, again, this is the surgery unit. You used to go through this door into the area there, and you'd walk along the surgery, and this is the door you'll come out with once you've collected your meal, and then you'll go from here. You'll be going up the far staircase, because the near staircase is the one that you go up, and the far staircase is the staircase you would come down. And you'd immediately come from here, the surgery, and you'd be straight back up into your cell, which I'm now going to attempt to get back to A321.
Yeah, as you can see up there.
That's the staircase you would come down, and this is the staircase you would use to go up. Should we go up that? Should we go up and make our way back up? And this is for association. This is where you would sit and play your cards or speak to the other inmates, and somewhere around here there would be a telly room where the prisoners would spend their hour out of their cell every 3 days. We're now going to head up up to the 3rd floor landing, where I'm about to show you the cell I stayed in on my very last sentence on the late 80s. We're now heading up the stairs as you would back in the day. Escape room in progress, no public access.
You can go up again if you want to.
Huh? No, this is the one I want to go on. I think it's that side I need.
What?
Down there.
Hmm?
Is this part of these prison escape?
Yes.
I think we... Oh, no public access.
Come over, I think now.
I'm just waiting for the escape program, because they run a prison escape from here, which is a bit of a game show to see if anybody can escape. Just so I can show you the very last cell I stayed in the late 80s. And there we have the suicide nets, people. Have we been up on the top landing yet? Oh, top landing. I don't think we've been out this door yet, have we, on the right? Because that's where you used to get your laundry and you change the clothes from here.
Yeah, I've been down there.
Should we go up a level?
No, you can't go that one.
You can? Oh. Right, I'm going to make it now down to A321 because it's coming up close to my 2 hours, and I think they're going to be completed in 3 minutes. So if I slowly make our way now, so I can get to A321. They're doing the prisoner escape, as you can see. That's they have a game show where they try and get prisoners to escape. As you can see, they're in their orange boiler suits. But it's A321 is the cell I want to get to. It's just along there where the people are with the orange suits on. Hmm?
Why don't we just go up the top, walk around up top, and then...
You can't go up.
You can't go up, you can.
What level are we on? Level 1, 2. We're on the 3s. I'm going to try and get up to level 4, but I can't at the moment. Just to show you where the enhanced prisoners would go. I think I need that far. I think we need the far. Oh, wifey's found a way. Now, the level one going on to now, this is A4. A4 would be where the enhanced prisoners would be. So if you've been a good lad, you've done everything you've been told. This is where the luxury. Level is. Because if you can see, they get foam put on their beds as a foam mattress. Now I've never made it up to to the enhanced level, either because I did do something stupid and got demoted, or I didn't spend enough time. Plenty of times I've put posters up on the wall with toothpaste. Now I do believe there is another door up there. but we can't get to it. We can go up them the stairs there and go up to the very top. But yeah, I've got probably about another 20 minutes of see, this is a blanket they put down when someone's tried to escape, or they've tried to commit suicide. You know, it just goes to show you that you can jump from here, but the problem is you only got the suicide nets, which will stop you. This is a proper bed for the cell, and the proper mattresses. Now they're the mattresses that we had back in the 80s. And this is exactly the layout that as I remember it from back in the 80s. See if you notice, people, that some of these, there we go, there's the showers on the enhanced level. And this is where the officers would be.
Yeah.
But without the paint and without all the mops, there would have been a computer system on there. And I wish I could push the bell from inside the cell and see if this works.
Yeah, don't.
Well, you're allowed to.
What do you mean you're allowed to?
Is the light flashing? See, that's the bell you'd push if you're just about to commit suicide, and then that red bell then would ring, and then they would hit the reset button, and then tell you to stop abusing. Let's have a look in that spiral. Now let's see who's escaped. Yep, and again, people, you see that curtain up at the window? Well, back in the 80s, if you ever put your curtain up on your window like that, it'd be on the governor's report. You know, this is typical of what some prisoners would do. They'd put their bed sheet up at the window to make it look like a curtain, but unfortunately, if you was caught doing that, then you'll be put on the governor's report. The one thing I haven't noticed yet, I haven't seen one cell with a carpet in. For some reason, this one's locked. So I can only get you to look through the spy hole. Notice, people, how these cell walls are more cleaner and tidier. Now I'm expecting to go to A321, and on that wall my name was etched onto it. Now I don't know if that would have been removed, or, but we're going to find out. I don't know if they're done yet on the escape. A321, I can get in there now.
Yeah, just wait until.
Hey?
Just
I'm going
wait.
down.
No, just wait. Babe, just wait.
Well, we do that and then we can go. I just want to get to that A321. Looks like they're the people that escaped. No. No, I'm going down here in a sec. I'm just waiting for them to take the photos. Now, they also do a little game show here. If you escape from your prison cell during the time, and it looks like they escaped. Oh. Yeah. Can I quickly just do a quick circle in there? So it was the last cell I was ever in when I was in here in the late 80s. And this is the actual last cell that I was in. This is the actual last cell that I was in the late 80s, A321. Now I'm just going to find for my name because it was on the left hand side to the sink. But this is the actual last cell that I was in. You see how you can escape? But this is the very last cell that I was in the late 80s, A321. This was my home on 3 separate sentences in the late 80s. Brings back some memories, just stood here. And this looks like it's been used for the prison escape game. And as you can see, there's some people that have passed all the tests and they've gone, right.
Having guesses like that is worthwhile, isn't it? Always is on this. Which is how we locked our safe.
So that's how they escaped.
It'll be that. And then, yeah, that's what we, so we did it. And then I was like, yeah, that's it.
I got it. I got the cell. Right. Yeah, A321 there. I've been in there, been around, yeah.
Awesome.
Because I'd always said, like I was here 86. I was doing a 12-month sentence. And because I had so much on remand. Who's that? That's that grey lady. Yeah, 86, 12-month sentence I got. But because I'd done 3 or so months on remand here, instead of them, because this used to be a holding prison, so you'll come here and then they'll dedicate you to like Stafford or Birmingham or whatnot.
I didn't know this.
You'll come here, and I had like 3 months left, so what they'd done, instead of allocating me on that sentence, I finished my time here. So that's why I've got to A321, but I couldn't make it to the enhanced level, which A4 was for the enhanced people. So all the good lads that have done everything right, you know, you'll go from A3 to A4, and then that's where you get a few more luxuries.
I see.
Like my sentence wasn't long enough for me to make it to the enhanced. So I finished that sentence in A321. But then, about 9 months later, I got myself in like a bit more fucking bother. And I ended up back here. And you go down onto the ones, and they put you in like certain cells. And then they move you up to level 2. And then after about a week or so, you come up to the 3s. And then from here, you'll go to the enhanced level, or they'll dedicate you to whichever prison, which on the second time, I was in A321, but then I got allocated to Stafford, so I finished off my sentence that time in Stafford.
I mean, it's going to look a bit different because we've turned them into escape rooms. As you
yeah, I
can see.
did notice. I mean, I was looking for my name. I did scratch my name on the wall, but I couldn't see
We've
it.
been repainting as well.
You know this the escape game. What's all that about?
So we have 2 different escape rooms. We're going to get them sort of refurbished over the next 2 weeks. But it's just sort of all these puzzles around the room. You sort of explore what secrets you can find in the room, and see if it
So you've
maybe
got to
gives
answer
you
certain puzzles, and then that
exactly.
in turn
We'll give you more
the
puzzles and more until we get to a final solution that should allow the door to unlock. And the other escape rooms are very similar, but it's just sort of a different scenario where we have it in the dark and sort of handcuffed to the wall and such. So it's a bit more intimidating.
See, I'm coming back here for the for the ghost. They do that
the ghost
paranormal.
Yeah.
So I'll do that
Awesome.
next month.
Jesus
Awesome.
gets sick.
So I don't believe in all that. I'm one of these people that I'd have to see it to believe it.
Yeah, I'm sort of the same, but I have a lot of co-workers who have some
my
great
wife said
ghost stories.
she said, well, the only way to get around that is to actually do a ghost, do a paranormal investigation, and then you can make your mind up. If something happens that changes your mind, then you're going to believe in that.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm a skeptic and I think, it's just a load of idiots with a machine trying to, like train spotters.
Yeah.
Oh, I've seen 992.
Yeah.
But yeah, right. I better finish off this tour. Yeah. But anyway, nice to meet you.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
My name's Steve. Have a look on my YouTube channel for Official Topic Talk.
Official Topic Talk.
Yeah, I run a YouTube channel and I cover all subjects at the moment. Another escapee. See, at the moment, what I've been doing, I've been covering about the grooming gangs in Telford. I'm going to make our way out now. I'm going to be phoning my lift. And
and then you stop that.
couldn't cover the exercise yard again. There's the kitchen area. Again, there's the shower block. So what I'm going to do now, subscribe, like, and I'll catch you guys later.